So you don't think you could take an ostrich in a fight? Let me clarify. Ostriches can be deadly. This is true.
Sure.
The ostriches I've seen are not that big. I think it'd be scary. I think it would be dangerous. But I've seen a man on an ostrich farm put a sock on his hand, grab the ostrich by the mouth, and then put the sock over his head. Then the ostrich is like, what? Where am I?
So you think that's game over right there?
I think that's game over.
You're like, I just need.
I will say, ostriches are fabulous. They have like very long eyelashes. I've really wanted to do like effects based on ostriches for a while.
On this week's super fun episode, I'm really excited for you to meet our guest. He's my longtime buddy and TikTok 3D artist, Dominic Koshinsky. We talk about everything from AI Yetis to his love of Call of Duty and how that got him into the entertainment industry. We also talk about what makes a viral video viral. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it. Yeah. We're already heading that way. They're like, so can you beat the robots? Because that's the only way we're going to keep you going.
I will say, I've been seeing AI videos online of Yetis and Sasquatches. Can I show you really quick?
Sure.
They're so funny. And this is what I think is the best use of AI. I've thought about doing this.
Are Yetis in the wild? Like it's
like a vlog.
Deep fake?
So it's kind of like this.
I know I can't fight 100 men, but the first I catch, they gonna be on a t-shirt. After the first two hit the dirt, the next wave gonna hesitate. And that's when I turn strategic. No more swinging wild. Now I'm doing math. I might not win the war, but I promise you, some of y'all not going on home the same.
So there's that. Where's the Yeti one?
See, it's good for something.
I thought about doing that myself.
So is it Sasquatch talking, or is it like Sasquatch in the wild?
It's similar to this kind of content. I do remember where I shared it now.
Yo, is that a plane? They dropping to something. It says trend, bro.
What the hell is trend?
Okay, it says we're supposed to inject this stuff into each other and then we get instantly strong, like instant muscles.
And no more dumbass warm-ups.
You trying to go first or should I?
I can feel the power.
Yeti and Sasquatch.
Let's go!
I hit a PR.
Let's go, Yeti.
And it's a great idea because he posts a video a day. Right. And it's like a vlog of these guys.
It's just always these Yetis
it's
doing little ads, little commercials.
Yeah, I love it. I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm like, what could I do?
Right, as a side hustle.
Yeah.
And you're like, Yeti content.
Well, AI videos maybe. Or meme internet content.
Yes, right.
Funny videos.
Right.
And AI videos are new, so.
Yeah.
Did I ever show you my Shrek-a-chew?
No. What's Shrek-a-chew?
So there was a little thing I was doing, an experiment at one point where I was like trying to do an AI image a day. So that's Shrek-a-chew.
You made this with AI? Oh my God.
There's some ideas there, you know? Who
it's
knows?
True.
It could be Shrek-a-chew in a video one day.
Get out of my catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em, gotta get out of my swamp. Some version of that.
My Pokeball or something. But, because then it's also not copyright. I don't know if I did something like that.
Well, did you see Universal and Disney sued Midjourney the other day?
Was this recently?
Recently.
Oh.
They just...
They
just sued them for stealing, their copyright.
It's hard to prove, though.
Yeah, that's true.
They would need, like, insider, like, engineers or something to, like...
To figure out how they are using their learning system within Midjourney, you mean?
The way it works is you take a bunch of images to train a model.
Right.
So the algorithm is the way it learns based off of the model, from my understanding. A very, very superficial understanding.
Right.
And... based on so that's what the general lawsuits are about, the images they take to train these models.
Totally.
Like the engineering side of it is like how it processes all these images, but the images used to train are not owned by them.
Right.
Usually. It's just off the internet.
That's the copyright in question part. Yeah.
And they usually just take off of Google or whatever's on the internet, which is like not fair use exactly, but
it is on the internet.
It's on the internet, but it's not really.
So are memes copyright infringement? Yes. but it's like our whole culture too. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, there's not a whole business model.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have artists like us and the people that we know who like make original art, and then sometimes that stuff gets stolen, and then that calls into question a lot of like the morality of like,
Yeah.
are you stealing artists' artwork to make something new, or is that
The
you know?
ethical way to do it would be to have artists hired to produce the artwork or just buy the copyright from the
Totally.
artist.
Yeah.
But then they wouldn't make money, so
Right.
they're already struggling to make Midjourney, ChatGPT. It takes a lot of energy to fuel like for the computers and everything like that. It's a big energy use. Like we actually have to like look into like more like powerful energy supply, like nuclear or like better solar or something, to supply enough energy to like produce
Right.
these images.
I heard that there's like they have to use like so much water for some reason. I don't know what
to cool the
computers,
machines,
machines, right?
For the liquid cooling. Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, you're using this much water from the ocean, so now you're also you're ruining the ocean too if you use ChatGPT or
There's nuances to it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all that bad. It's actually not necessarily a bad thing, but currently this is the way we create energy isn't enough. Like if I forgot the math, but someone did the math, and it's like a day's worth of energy produced by some person on average.
Oh wow.
To create like a 4-second something, like to use ChatGPT for one question or something like that. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's a crazy math.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Invest in nuclear is what I'll say.
Invest in
not
nuclear.
financial advice.
Invest in. I mean, they're talking about it. I hear it happening, but
yeah, they're getting ahead on it. With other countries are getting ahead on it.
If you watch John Oliver has a whole thing about nuclear and why they've been trying to get rid of it as an energy source for like the last basically since Chernobyl.
I haven't seen that. My understanding is, tell me without telling me what he said. My understanding was it is mostly corporate capitalism, greed, because nuclear has actually been very like clean since then, and they've actually fine-tuned the technology to be really very efficient.
Right.
But similarly to like solar with gas companies, they just don't want to, because it would cause them to lose money and all that stuff, right?
It would change the whole energy source system that we have in place currently.
Yes.
Right?
Is that what he said?
Well, I think that was part of it, but he also was talking about how nuclear reactors, the problem is that they're like volcanoes that you set up in all these towns all across America or wherever else.
Fair.
And if something does go wrong,
yeah, but nothing has since then.
Right.
We've been using nuclear and nothing has.
Right.
But it's true. No one wants to have a nuclear power plant
in their backyard. Yeah.
But that's why they're usually like kind of they're like in Arizona if we have any.
Right.
Or stuff like, they're like really far away.
There's nobody in Arizona.
Yeah, it's a desert. I mean, Area 51, all that. It's
true. It's true.
So, but that's true though. That is a big part of it. No, it's one of those things. It's not like a beautiful piece of architecture.
Right. But it'll be interesting to see where like not clean energy necessarily, but new energy goes over the next couple of years, because it's gonna have to evolve at some point.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we're creating Sasquatch Yeti videos with it. Isn't that beautiful?
And I think that is really the progress that we needed.
That's what I'm here for.
Do you have like favorite videos on TikTok as opposed to Instagram as opposed to YouTube?
I do think TikTok has a better algorithm. They do have different content. Well, no, most of the content you see on Instagram will be on TikTok like a couple weeks before. Usually, it'll trend later.
Right. That's interesting. I wonder why that is.
The younger audience is on TikTok.
Yeah, that's true.
They're the internet fiends.
Yeah, and TikTok, just in my little experience with it, I've noticed just the really fast, quick cutting nature of the videos on TikTok, even as opposed to on Instagram. And then YouTube is for the rest of us.
But everyone is starting to copy TikTok more. Like YouTube Shorts are a big thing now. Instagram is changing their whole format to be the Reels a little bit more. Mostly because of the audience they use. I think because like I know TikTok would be more entertaining for me, but I just have my social connection to Instagram with like the few people that I still talk to there.
Yes, me too.
Like TikTok, I have no one there, so I'm literally just gonna scroll, and then it's like less fun for me because if I find something funny, I like to send it to someone, and like no one I know is on TikTok.
That's fair. That makes sense.
I'm realizing maybe I'm just a gym bro, because the Gym Fail Nation account, they just keep posting great ones. Every
Is
time
this
I'm
all
like,
that you get?
It. Every time I'm like, this one speaks to me. Let me show you.
Your equivalent of a For You page on Instagram.
Is that one account? This one is you'll like this one, I think. It's just stuff like that. This whole page is love. I think if you go through, I probably liked all their posts.
I love that that's just like that anybody can be a comedian. It can be a professional editor in a minute, and it's amazing. It kind of like breaks down all the barriers. Like, yep, those guys are just as funny as anybody you're going to see on Netflix.
Part of my work is like looking at trends, and so I'll like look at trends to try to find things to make them popular. So I've been thinking about it a lot also, like professionally a little bit.
What are the things that are the patterns that have shown up when you're looking for something's virality?
I feel like everyone has a different theory to this because like most people, like it has to be understood by a lot of people. In my mind, it's based on meme and internet culture a little bit. Usually the most viral things are like internet memes from something like Reddit that's simplified to a point that someone who doesn't go on Reddit can understand it.
Right.
And like find it funny and relatable. Like the gorillas. Like that's a constantly recurring thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it blew up because it was like gorillas are always for Harambe, like, and then since Harambe, that's been like constant. Every couple months, someone will find a new thing to like bring it back. But because but it's a gorilla, and you know what I mean. And then I think before that, gorillas were popular too. Like, I don't know if you remember, I would just draw gorillas.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I know.
There's something about a gorilla. It would constantly recur, and then I think that was something that was like such a simple debate between people that everyone got involved, and everyone's like, oh, maybe not everyone understood Harambe, but like
it's like cat videos. It's like there's an animal that we all love that we can like relate to in some ways, and you see it with gorillas too. Yeah. You see a gorilla grabbing its young and pulling it up, and you're like, oh yeah, that's my kid.
Being gentle, by the way. That is how they protect their young.
There you go.
They're taking them away from a dangerous situation.
Yeah,
they just don't understand how much force they can have. I think that is like how I like to think about it. I think there is common themes that resurge in popularity, maybe because something else re-influenced it. Like with the gorilla thing, I think gorillas were always popular within like a certain crowd. But then like maybe if you remember like 6 months ago, the question of like, would you rather find a man or a bear in the forest? But that's what I'm saying, right? Like new ideas come into culture,
right? And
then I think that's basically the evolution of like, well, what if a man was to fight a gorilla? Because it's like, I don't know, like it's not like such a far step in my mind to go from that to that, right?
Totally.
So it's like new ideas bring back old ideas in a new way, and it's constantly like
evolving. Yeah, it's that 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck.
Exactly.
What would you rather fight?
Yeah, right. Simple questions.
Yeah.
But I feel like those, if you could flip those things around, those are ways you can get like viral things. Mm-hmm. Which is why like the Sasquatch Yeti video is like so hilarious. Because it's a vlog. It's just a vlog. Right. And it's a vlog of like a California dude or like someone like from the West Coast.
Sure.
Or someone, you know, there's these personas and archetypes that they embody, obviously, but it's just a Yeti and a Sasquatch. So you wouldn't know that right away.
Yeah.
And it's just a vlog and they're camping.
Right. So you've been working at TikTok now for how long?
It'll be 3 years in February.
3 years.
Hopefully.
Man.
Wait, no, it'll be 4 years.
4 years.
It'll be 4 years in February. I got my 3-year anniversary present. It was like a pair of headphones.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Well, congratulations on your 3-year anniversary.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I started, I forget the year. It was towards like the tail end of COVID.
Right.
I liked it. I liked it then. I like it now. It's changed so much, obviously, over 3 years, right?
Sure, and a lot has happened over 3 years.
Yeah.
So, in like a day-to-day sense, what does your job kind of entail?
It started with working on effects. So, and it still technically revolves around that. We're still called the effects design team. Mm-hmm. A bunch of us got brought on because TikTok was being, exploding in popularity, and part of that was effects.
Yeah.
Especially during that time. We were just effects designers. We would like come up with ideas and effects. We call them effects. Maybe some people might call them like filters for Snapchat, right? So I think that might be like something that more people like understand, but we call them effects. They're very similar. Not necessarily like just a filter for your face though. Sometimes they're like toys or not toys. They're games.
Like that the the old Flappy Bird. What was that game where you put your head, you had to duck, you know?
Well, now the ones that are popular are like you'll probably see some of them on trending here and there, where you have to like say a word, or you have to like say a sound for the shape to fit through, and it's like one of those games from those like Japanese shows where you have to like. It's inspired by like fitting the shape, you know what I mean? It's like the passing by of the walls with the holes in them, and it's basically that, but you have to like use audio to like match the prompt in order to get.
Oh,
yeah. So
cool.
those are popular now still too.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, those are effects.
And that's something that you would work on, is like a game like that too, as well as like a traditional like filter.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes there's just the ones that make you look silly. Sometimes there's the ones that make you look pretty. Sometimes there's the ones that are like a game. Yeah. And obviously different people had different preferences, right, for like what we would work on and what we wanted to do.
That's cool. So, what's your preference? What are the types of effects you like to make?
I definitely like the silly ones. The games are hard too. They're like a big investment of time. So there's like games were tricky because you have to like have a really solid idea, and you don't necessarily know if it's gonna hit how you think it would. So so games were we always would have ideas for games, but like getting the chance to like get the approvals to commit the time and resources to doing it was hard. So silly effects were my preferred ones. I had a hot potato effect. It was like one of those face insets almost, where it's like your eyes are on a fruit or something. It was a hot potato, and it was a Mrs. Hot Potato.
Nice.
And so the guy had like a pompadour, and the girl had like curly hair.
So you become like Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head basically, and your face is
hot
potato. But it's just your eyes and face go in the potato.
It was a baked potato too. So it's sour cream as the hair.
Oh, delicious.
I like that one. I showed you the Turkey Day one.
Yes, I remember.
So those are the ones I got to do a lot of.
Was that a Thanksgiving specific effect? Yeah.
It was. The inspiration for that one was I remember seeing an internet video of like a child running away from a turkey. So I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if like you're a hunter that's like swarmed by turkeys? Right. Those were ones I did. They didn't go super viral, but people liked them.
What's the one that you made that you feel like is the most viral?
So I like the turkey one so much, but it's probably too far in a direction. Dude, this is like to my point earlier, right? Where like it's probably a little too niche.
Yes.
It had like the reactions, and it had a couple posts that had like a lot of views, interactions, but it didn't have enough people posting it. But the other one was like, what fruit are you? And it's like it's a similar effect where it puts your face on like a dancing fruit. That's all it was. It puts your face on like a dancing fruit, and it was a watermelon. You could choose between an avocado, a watermelon, and a banana. And then it was like on this like farm or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And that one was like way more popular. People still use that one sometimes.
Oh wow. If you're working on that, are you doing the modeling of the fruit character, and then you're like, then somebody else is rigging it and animating it, or are you kind of doing everything? How's that?
Sometimes I would have like more people on an effect. Mm-hmm. And so like maybe like the turkey one was concepted by a guy, and great job concepting it because it was amazing. And then I would model it, and then I think we had someone who helped with the rigging, and then someone else helped with the animation and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
But sometimes, and especially more recently, like, yeah, I'm just doing it all.
Wow.
Yeah. So the team has had like changes and like, you know, reorganization, stuff like that. Currently, we don't do as much effects. We're building more assets. So specifically just assets for people to create their own effects.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a much more simple like job role and team objective. But the goal is still for effects, but only specifically assets. But so before that, towards the tail end of like the actual effect creation for the team, like while we're still doing that, there was some times where I did everything. I did like the animation. I had at that point like I had to use AI. I had to use AI to help with concepting, you know, for simple things. And then like, just because like I'm not a concepter, but I have an eye for it, so I'll be like, oh, this is what I like, and I know that'll look good.
Right.
I would do the whole cycle of production for like a small scale thing.
It's been probably a minute since you did all of the things, including animation, right? Have you been kind of doing generalist work throughout?
Yeah. So ever since I graduated, I started working at an AR tech startup, and then so that back then I was very actually similar similar job, even in a lot of ways. Yeah, I would do everything except concepting because we had another artist who was like into
Really good at
concepting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had the savviness to do all of it, and we needed to do all of it because there was literally 2 or 3 of us.
Yeah.
so, so that's what it was.
Right.
And I also had to learn like scripting and like a
Yeah.
little bit of development stuff, which was cool and enjoyable.
It's cool that you like all that stuff. I mean, I remember in college you like you did everything anyway. Like you already were a model or texture artist. You know, I think some lighting maybe even. Like you did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I do wish maybe, I don't know. I like doing it. I like learning it. I like doing it. I like understanding like how to make a model look better for texturing and then how to make the model work better for rigging and stuff like that. And I feel like I never really fully understood it until I had to like go through it myself and be like, oh, this
Yeah.
vertex is placed in the wrong place. It's getting me, it's such a pain in my ass right now. I need to like, would have been way better if it was this way instead.
you're like, if only the modeler had known. And then you're like,
I
oh,
was the
it's me.
modeler.
It's
Yeah,
me.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it eventually led to the job where you're at currently.
Yes.
But what was that journey from like being a generalist in college, doing that first job? You're
Yeah.
saying it was an AR?
Yes.
company?
I
Yeah.
always liked video games.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of the reason I went to school. Video
Ah.
games are my thing. I always liked movies, but like I wasn't such a movie guy. I think hanging out with everyone at school made me a lot more into movies than it exposed me to like
Sure.
appreciate it more. But video games are my thing more. But I didn't learn anything about video games in school. You know what I mean? It was graduating, got a little bit lucky with that because AR is a much more of a video game pipeline of like real time rendering and stuff. I'll be honest, I was trying to get hired at like a movie production, but I just didn't have, I don't think, the skill set in regards to like to fit into a production that way because I like to do everything.
Yeah.
I wasn't like better than the other guy who liked to just model. To, like,
You're
run
really
on.
good at a lot of different things, which I
Yes.
think is that's a huge strength unto itself. That is huge, like you said, for games in general, or for working at somewhere like TikTok, you know. And that skill set is equal. It's just different to somebody who like focuses on they're just an animator and that's what their whole life focus was, animator.
Yeah, so it was pretty lucky for me because I didn't
Yeah.
even realize this. AR has been around for a while, is what
It
I learned.
has, yeah.
Like, it kind of blew my mind at that point because all I knew about was like Snapchat and Snapchat face filters and stuff like that. And that technically was AR as well, even though it was like more beauty stuff. They have a lot of like fun effects now as well. But back then it was like more motion 2D, like nothing crazy 3D. So it didn't really make you think AR right away, but it
Yeah.
was tracking to your face. And so it was cool. I got to like learn a lot more about like the AR real-time rendering thing. I'm forgetting, man. I freelanced a couple places here and there for like a little bit. But like my next big thing was like another startup in Mountain View, California. This was more like a tech hardware startup though. But similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
They were using Unity. Pretty cool piece of hardware. They're called Ultra Leap. Initially called Ultra Haptics. They acquired Leap Motion, which is a hand tracking camera company.
Oh wow.
Became Ultra Leap. The cameras were to track your hands, because when you're playing VR, you have to use controllers. It is a little bit clunky.
Yeah.
So they were trying to solve a solution of like using just your hands. And
That's
then,
so cool.
Yeah, and then Ultra Haptics was trying to give you haptic feedback, because the issue with just using your hands is that you need to touch things, and so you can't just like grab air. It doesn't feel right. If you grab something, if I'm grabbing a ball in midair and I grab it, but then I do like this,
It doesn't feel real because you're not feeling anything that's real.
yeah. So it
Yeah.
makes the illusion very like disconnected, or the experience
Yeah.
very disconnected. It breaks your illusion. So there was like basically a soundboard that would shoot sound waves, and then it would create haptic feedback in the air.
Oh,
It was
so you
like-
could actually feel something in the air
Yeah.
without there being a physical object
Yeah,
there?
it was cool.
That's
It's
super cool.
It's a very expensive piece of hardware though.
So did you ever get to wear the gloves and feel?
No,
what
no
it-
gloves.
No gloves.
Yeah, just a piece of. It's like a soundboard. It had,
Oh.
it had a certain range though, so you had to be over it.
Right.
It was like little air bubbles popping on your hand. It was cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I worked there for maybe just about a year because COVID happened.
Yeah, and then you couldn't be over the machine anymore.
Yeah. So that was unfortunate. So then I moved back to New York. Then I worked at Bank of America for 11 months.
Wow. You were making some filters for Bank of America.
No,
they love like money coming out of someone's mouth, like, ah.
That would be amazing. It was for data visualization. They were using an Unreal
Oh.
Engine. They had a team for Unreal Engine, and they were like trying to experiment with visualizations for data using the third dimension.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
So
cool.
it was like graphs and charts,
Yeah.
but like 3-dimensional.
So it was much more like a tech artist based role. That's
Yeah.
where like the visual scripting stuff came into play. It was
Oh.
less like more shaders, less modeling, stuff like that.
Mhm. Do you feel like that job actually helped you with the learning the scripting? So then
Yes.
you
yeah,
now you
absolutely.
have that tool set.
Yeah, because leading up to that, I always worked hand in hand with like a developer
Yeah.
or like a developer building apps.
Yeah.
Because there's so many terms.
Yes.
Not a software developer, not an engineer, or depending who you ask, whatever.
Right.
So I would work with a developer, and we would work hand in hand, and I learned a little bit of like what they needed me to know, so I could help understand, so I could bridge the gap of their understanding of 3D and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool. And yeah, then I got hired at TikTok afterwards.
And now you've been living in California for a while.
Yeah,
How do you like living out here as a born and bred New Yorker?
it's hard. It's conflicting, man. I like California. That's why I wanted to move. I took the job wanting to come back to California. Weather is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm prideful about being a New Yorker.
I feel like
It's
whether we
different.
choose to or not, there is like
Yeah.
a pride of being an East Coaster, of being from New
Yeah.
Jersey or New York.
See you later, Ollie.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
He's right here. So the ostrich.
It doesn't matter how we got there. You had a question?
I have a question for you,
You have
sir.
a question for me?
So you don't think you could take an ostrich in a fight? Just one ostrich? Let me clarify. I've seen videos.
Yes.
Okay, so I get into the debates about this. Ostriches can be deadly. This is true.
Sure.
And I think it maybe depends on the species of ostriches we're talking about.
Right.
The ostriches I've seen are not that big.
So
Think
you
about it.
truly believe you could take an ostrich in a fight?
I think it'd be scary. I think it would be dangerous. But I've seen a man on an ostrich farm put a sock on his hand, grab the ostrich by the mouth, and then put the sock over his head. And then the ostrich is like, "What? What? Where am I?"
So you,
So
so you think that's game over right there?
I think that's
You
game
just,
over
you're
right
like, I just
there.
need a sock. That's it.
well, arguably, I think with these questions, you can't. Maybe like pocket sand is allowed.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like sand, anything you find around you. But
Right.
I think if you
Well, you're
come in
wearing
with-
a sock, so
True, fair.
Yeah.
I have a sock on my foot. Fair. I'll
You
wear
have
long
two.
socks that day.
Yeah.
But you're afraid of birds?
I'm terrified of birds.
Really?
I don't know. Oh no, I know why. Why am I saying I don't know why? I know why. When I was a kid, I went to the petting zoo.
Did you just swarmed with birds?
Geese.
Oh,
There were
geese are
geese at the
fucking-
petting
they're
zoo.
Fucked up.
Yeah. And I was walking around feeding all the animals,
Damn.
and a goose saw me and ran at me full speed. And I ran as fast as I could, and that
You
goose
can't do
kept
that.
biting my butt
You can't show
over and
fear.
over again. Oh my.
As soon as you run away, you give them control. You have to stand your ground. But it's just like the same if you ever go to Japan, the deer in Nara, like in Nara
Yes.
Park.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, man. They swarm you because they know you have food. They want you to give them food, and they'll hustle you, they'll rob you, they'll do everything.
But they're not super aggressive
No,
because
they
they're
do.
Japanese, so they're very respectful.
Not these deer. I got robbed when I was there. As soon as the lady handed me, there was a 6 deer just waiting, and they jumped me. And it was scary. I will say this, but I knew not to turn my back on them, and I knew to because they would go into my pocket. They were getting
Oh
aggressive.
wow!
Yeah.
Oh really?
And so I didn't touch them or anything, but I knew that if I showed vulnerability, they might take advantage even more. So I was
Sure.
like, not. And after that, I stopped buying crackers. No more for none of them.
No more crackers for the Nara deer.
Yeah, no more. But yeah, I think an ostrich is doable. I
Yeah.
think that's where I draw the line. I think in terms of tiers of animals you could take in a fight. I think ostrich is in the boundary.
You know that they have talons, right?
Yeah.
Like
They also only have,
raptors.
they have 2 legs. You
So
sweep the
do
leg.
we. So do we.
You know, we have 2 arms too, though. You know,
But we
if I-
don't have talons attached to our legs.
That's why I think it's dangerous. I'll agree.
Yeah, one
I'll
kick.
agree. Yeah. I think it's a risk. There's a risk involved. They're also like very fragile.
Right.
They're strong but fragile.
They
Like,
are birds.
They're hollow. They're hollow bone. It's true. That's why birds can fly.
Ah,
They're just
sure.
big birds.
There it is.
They're too big to fly.
I remember that now from elementary school.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't know if I could fight an ostrich. If I had to, I would.
Yeah.
But if I had a choice, I never
oh,
would
of
fight
course
an
not.
ostrich. I would run as
No.
far away as possible.
I would hate to hurt any animal. I would never want this. Let me clarify. I love animals, but this has come up a couple times.
It is a very common topic of conversation,
Yes.
fighting ostriches. You know how you
There's
thought
an
of
ostrich
it?
farm over here.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about sizing them up.
Have you gone to the ostrich farm?
No, it's far. It's pretty far.
It's near Solvang. I went once. I tried to feed the ostrich, and they give you like a frying pan full of bird seed, and you're supposed to just hold it.
Do they like smash it?
They go poof, poof on your hand. You're like holding the thing, and they're just
Oh.
yeah. It's
A
aggressive.
frying pan?
I was like this. Just,
Maybe I'll change my tune after I meet these birds.
you're like, I see eye to eye with you. You would see eye to eye with them because you're tall.
Yeah, I'd be like,
You
huh,
guys-
I see that. I can't believe I didn't think of this earlier. Because with the birds, with the fighting gorillas and stuff like that, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just the natural
Yeah.
next
Yes.
topic of conversation.
Oh, that was personal though. Ostriches didn't go viral. Yeah.
Now they will.
Yeah. I will say, ostriches are fabulous. They have like very long eyelashes.
They are.
I've really wanted to do like effects based on ostriches for a while.
They are fabulous. They also like wear a boa all the time.
Is
You
that
know
the-
those scarves
Yes.
that are all feathers.
Yeah.
That's basically what the
Yeah.
bottom of them are.
But yeah. So California's been good. Yeah, it's interesting because I do meet a lot of people that talk about wanting to move here, and it's always vice versa.
One or the other.
Yeah, East Coast
Yeah.
wants to experience West. There's two groups of people I found: people that are very happy with where they are, or people that want to go to the opposite coast.
Yeah.
I've learned actually there's a lot of transplants in these areas nowadays. Like I think my impression of LA was very warped by the amount of people that weren't from here.
Mm.
I learned that like, oh, actually the people from LA are not the ones giving me these experiences. It's the people that are like trying to do something in LA. And like
Yes.
for good or worse, you know what I mean? Like not to throw shade or anything, but like it's just I understand. It's a business relationship sometimes, not you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's everybody is going to these places to pursue something.
Yes. So the priority for people like that is usually like networking, this and that,
Right.
building connections, which is fine, totally
Yeah.
cool. It's not necessarily what my intentions are.
There's also like a blurry line of networking when networking can kind of
Yes.
get
Yes.
yucky.
Yes.
You know, where
Yes.
it's like, it feels like you're not seeing me as a person. We're not
So what
connecting.
value can you add to me?
Yeah. What can you give me?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is where I haven't experienced this before. I'm sure it
Yeah.
exists in New York as well. But I think because I'm from New York, I don't experience that at all in New
Sure.
York. Because all the people I know are from New York.
Yeah.
A lot of learning about how to navigate this kind of interact and understanding how to see it and like understanding
Yeah.
like, all that stuff.
It is weird. You hope that they're coming from a good place, but it does come, there is like a fakeness that comes off as opposed to it being like, oh no, I'm genuinely connecting with you. And then if we are actually friends, then, you know, the recommendations and all those other things come.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, I want to work with my friend.
Yeah.
That's what networking should be, is you're just making friends
Yes.
and
Yes.
being open to new people, you know?
I agree. I mean, I understand everyone is like in a rush. That
Yeah.
takes time. It takes a lot more time than people maybe want to invest in. And so there's maybe a sense of rush. And so the priorities, I feel like, get flipped with that. It's like, okay, I kind of need something now.
Yeah.
Or I'll move on to the next person, basically. You know what I mean? Kind of like that.
Yeah, no, I get it.
To clarify, like, not necessarily if anyone has done this, that they may be doing it intentionally or framing them in a bad way. I think it's like, you know, Gaslaw's pyramids of needs.
I don't. Explain it to
I
me.
think it's Gaslaw. It's the pyramid of needs.
Yeah.
And it's the idea as a society, as we grow and evolve, our priorities like evolve as well. So like initially the bottom is like food and shelter.
Yeah.
And then as this becomes a standard, the next one is like whatever, I forgot. But it's basically like bare minimum. Now that you have bare minimum, what's the next thing?
Right.
What's
And
the
it just
next
keeps
thing?
getting higher and higher and
Yes.
higher.
So like the priority eventually like is like, okay, now that you have like a safety net of like a place to live, food on the table, you can focus on being an artist. You know what I mean? Like that is like a privilege to some extent.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily. I took student loans, which was crazy. I'm not saying anyone here. I feel like not.
Oh, I did too.
But I know some people don't, and so
Yeah.
like for them, I think that's the example, right? Potentially.
Yeah.
The reason I bring up the pyramid is because like, I feel like it's also like the way people interact socially, right? So like, I'm realizing. I mean, maybe I'm even coming to this idea as we speak, because, if you have security, you can invest time in people more for the sake of
Yeah.
connecting. And when people move here, maybe they're hustling, and maybe they're like trying to get food on the table. So maybe, you know what I mean? So you can't
That's
blame
true.
them. You can't really blame them for it, is what I've also learned. You know what I mean? It's a bad experience for someone, potentially,
Mm-hmm.
but that's also like on you to protect yourself from those experiences.
It's just part of learning how to be in a certain industry. You're learning how to navigate through it. And a lot of that is those initial interactions where you maybe rub people the wrong way because you're too excited.
Yeah.
You're too gung-ho about it. And then you're like, it comes off bad. It doesn't come off as you're being genuine. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's just a learning experience. You go, oh, that didn't work clearly because they didn't give me the job.
I agree.
Yeah.
Also, to be fair, sometimes you do the right things and
Yeah.
you just get unlucky, and that's okay too. You know what I mean?
That's
Sometimes
true
that just
too.
happen.
Yes.
But yeah. So that's been like a big part of my experience moving here.
Mm.
Doing therapy to help me with that was a big part of it, I would say, for
Yeah.
sure. Which is probably necessary anyway, honestly.
I think
it was
everybody should go through it at some point in their life, if not
I agree.
always.
This is part of the Gaz law.
Yeah.
My parents couldn't afford, like, they couldn't think about therapy. They were
Yeah.
thinking about surviving. This is like exactly my, like, the pyramid of needs. We're there now. Most of us are there now, or a lot of us are there now. We should consider this. I'm a big advocate for it. Learning about how to handle yourself in situations.
Well, and your parents, a lot of people's parents, they didn't have the option to pursue something that was like their life's dream, that type of thing. It was like, I'm following something that will put food on the table, will set us up for a good life, all that stuff.
I gotta pay rent.
Gotta pay rent.
Provide for my kids, all that.
Yeah. And the hope is that they're setting up a better life for us, so then we can do those things and set up a better life for the next generation, so on and so on. But yeah, being grateful for all of them who did that, people's grandparents, in my case, parents, everybody.
Yeah.
Immigrants who have come to America.
What a topic of what a coincidence we're talking about that.
In search of a better life.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. My great grandparents, when they came to the U.S., they would tell my grandparents, because we came from Italy. My family came from Italy, and they were like, "You're not Italians. You are Americans.
Wow.
So you're not learning Italian."
Really?
Yeah. So my grandmother, who's 97, she knows a little Italian, but she really didn't speak Italian in her house because her parents decided we are not Italians anymore. We are Americans now.
Interesting.
And that was the type of sacrifice that they gave up so that their kids could have a better life. And
Was that because was that like a need socially at the time for them to do
I think it was that too.
Especially in the East Coast during that time, there was, I forget what it was called, but there was a bit of friction. Let's say that.
It was contentious.
Yes,
I think there was a lot of, Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants, and there was a lot of people that didn't get along because it was all these people from all different places coming together for the first time with different backgrounds, different ideologies.
Yeah.
And, it clashes sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of my family is Irish and Italian. Yeah. so it ends well sometimes too.
That's intense, like to abandon your whole language and everything.
Yeah.
I think I didn't know about that stuff, but I think I have, because I know like a couple other Italians as well, and I'm thinking about it, like, yeah, they don't really speak Italian from my understanding.
I think that was an Italian mindset. I think that it was like, we're gonna go there and the streets are paved with gold, everything, America, land of opportunity. And then they got here and they said, great, now our kids, you're Americans. And they because they worked hard to get there. And I think that they saw it
It
as
has
a
to take-
prestigious.
I get that. Sometimes you have to do everything you can to know that you did everything you could.
Yes.
They said you're going to speak American, not English.
True.
Yeah.
You're going to speak American.
Not English.
That foundation of a family working hard is something I think everybody can kind of relate to. But it also comes with some costs.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's true. I think everyone, that's what you have to recognize. I think I learned too. There's been sacrifice somewhere for everyone. Not, you know what I mean? Sometimes people have it easier for sure,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean you haven't seen their journey necessarily, right? So
True.
You don't know exactly what happened along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about therapy, but I don't want to ask you about I want to ask.
We could ask. You ask me whatever you want.
I mean, I wanted to ask what your experience has been with therapy. How has that helped you? Do you feel like over the last couple years?
I think it's been good with understanding. I think the male experience growing up is a bit different. We don't necessarily learn about like boundaries, like understanding even what boundaries are. That was hard because I don't know. Growing up, it's like you gotta have tough skin,
Right?
Like the way you like handle friends. Like friends will be like, you know, they'll kind of like just give you all the time, but it's like their way of like trying to like, you know, maybe they'll see they said something wrong and they'll be like, come on, man, don't be like a, you know, don't be a blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's like their way of like expressing empathy, right? But that's not healthy. That's not like you're not learning how to respect boundaries. You're not learning anything about how to set a boundary. I mean, part of it was also like learning how like my interactions with people had to change. Right now, it's different when I interact with new people versus like my family that doesn't respect boundaries in any way or doesn't even, you know, similarly doesn't understand that concept. Because I think when you understand what your boundaries are, you can understand yourself a little better because you can understand. Like I know I'm a sensitive guy, and I think I have to accept that. But I also need to be aware that maybe I'm too sensitive about certain situations. So now I know, like, okay, these are my boundaries.
Yeah.
Am I being too sensitive? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is my boundary. Like, that's what it is. Like, if you can't respect, but like, if I don't have that, it's almost like working out. Like, I don't know, am I doing better? Because I don't have anything to like compare it to. Like, when you go to the gym, I would recommend you always you create a spreadsheet and you track your reps, you track your weights, the numbers you're hitting. Because then you can always be like, last week I did 10 reps of 20 pounds. This week I'm tired, I guess. I can only do 15 at 8 or something like that. You know what I mean? You have a point of reference. So like in that way, similarly with mental health, it's like, okay, that's important now because I know I'm sensitive. You know, maybe I don't like the way people said something to me, but like, did they really like, is it really disrespectful necessarily? Or am I just overreacting a little bit? Like,
and what was their intent? What was exactly.
Yeah. And like all that matters. And so like, it's like an exercise in that way. You have to like kind of like get better at it.
Yeah. So much internal work of like really looking at yourself under a microscope and going, why do I react that way to this thing? Why do I get defensive about this thing when that comes up?
Yeah, and that's the other part of it too. Like now I'm understanding like what my traumas might have been. Like, and this are all like technical terms, but like, you know, I got bullied as a kid. You know, is that affecting me now? Like my sense of self-worth is based on like how good I am at things. You know, like we're learning that stuff about myself. That has made me the person I am today, for better or for worse.
Right.
Maybe I've had things that I've accomplished as a result of that, which is great, but like maybe that's not sustainable for when I'm in like 50 years old.
Right. And that's the hard part too, is letting go of I have grown, I have gotten to where I am because of everything that's made me up as a person.
Right.
But then you have to realize that some of the things that make you up as a person, you actually really have to let go of.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to go any further in life unless you do that.
Yeah, they do hold you back at some point.
Yeah.
That's another part of it, right? You have to decide what's important to you and what you want to accomplish. But that's part of it all. Like it's all like this self-fulfilling, like self-serving, like all of it goes into each other, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's complicated and it's simple and it's hard. There's so many things to talk about when it comes to mental, like therapy and mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll say this, like if anyone needs convincing, my confidence has been as a person a lot better, and it fluctuates, of course, like anything.
Yeah.
But I'm able to like put myself out there in the ways I've always wanted to, or the ways I've always thought I would be able to. And obviously, this is constantly like an effort. But I'm like doing things that I found very challenging, and like in the past that like I'm getting better at doing now. And I think it's because like I've put that effort in, I put my mental reps in,
Yeah.
and I'm able to live life. Like here's a great example of like you're in high school and you're too scared to talk to the girl and all that
Yes.
stuff. And I'm like, and then as an adult, I still behaved that way. I was like, let's say like you're at the restaurant and you don't want to tell them that they messed your order up.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like stuff like that. It's like so many people I know are like, no, I'll just eat this. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it really fine? You know, like, yeah, sure. Maybe you're not picky. It's cool. And that's fine. But like, if you really wanted that freaking sauce on your thing, like,
Yeah.
go get the
You
sauce
should
on
say
your
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've gotten more comfortable with that part of yourself being able to verbalize that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm very happy for you. I'm glad that that has been helpful. Do you feel like, because I know for a long time you've been doing breakdancing.
I break. That's true. It's true.
But you've been doing that for a long time. Do you feel like the community aspect of that has been helpful with your development also as a person?
I think it's been helpful and unhelpful.
Right.
It's provided its own challenges, but I guess it's been able, maybe it's helpful all around because it's provided me the challenges. I've made some really good friends with breaking. So I think on the other side of things, it's also been really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the sense of community is nice. Like I have a stressful day at work, I just go dance practice and I get to see some friends there. And it's a good time, and it's not such a bad thing. Also, you're sweating out, working out, all that. Like, you can't be too stressed when you can barely like walk out the door. You know, like when you're like so physically exhausted.
Yeah.
The stress at some point is like, you're worried about the Maslow's pyramid of needs. You're worried about getting to your car. At some point,
You're like, don't let me collapse on my hand. That is the only thing holding me up
Yes,
right now.
Exactly. I think LA has been a big push in terms of like getting better at it. Like from a competitive perspective.
Have you been competing in LA?
I do here and there. Yeah, man, it's hard. It's one of those things I look back at too. Like everyone's getting better all the time. So like, it's hard because I'm getting older. So like, I'm competing with like a 17-year-old kid sometimes that's been doing it for 12 years. I've been doing it for 12 years. I'm 31.
Yeah, but he was like 3.
I'm not even joking. That's real.
That's real.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I do here and there. I try to push myself to do that as much as I can.
Yeah.
It's basically like a hobby for me, right? Like maybe like a very serious hobby, but like I would always recommend it for anybody. Like anything like that. Like it could be going to the gym, it could be running, it could be cycling, it could be playing video games. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Do you still play video games?
A little bit here and there. It's harder because I know less people who do play video games. And if I'm playing video games by myself, it's just not fun.
It's not
anymore.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, what were the games that you were playing that were like the multiplayer games?
Oh man, I would always play fighting games. So I was always really into like Super Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's your character?
Recently, there's too many now, man. I haven't played the new ones.
Well, who's your
It used to be
OG
like,
character?
Yeah, it used to be like kind of Falcon and stuff like that.
Nice. Falcon Punch.
Yes. Solid Snake was cool. I liked him a lot.
Was that in Melee or
Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
Brawl?
Yeah, they have him now. I think the game mechanics, although very similar, slightly different. He was like a top tier character in Brawl too. He had this thing where you could slide.
I played as Snake too. I always liked Snake.
Yeah.
It was Snake or Mario in the OG
Yeah.
one.
But yeah, it was that. Then it was like Street Fighter, Call of Duty. Mostly I think with the social aspect of it. It was Xbox Live. You played with a bunch of friends. I don't think I necessarily cared about Call of Duty otherwise that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. League of Legends.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
I stopped. That was what killed video games for me, I think.
Because of the community on League of Legends, or
Too
because
many friendships ruined.
that was a rough one, League of Legends. I think I played that once, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I love Valorant. The games they make are great. The games they make are amazing.
Yes.
The franchises they've built are awesome.
Oh yeah, I have no issue with the game League of Legends. It's the people that you play with that are brutal. 11-year-olds.
Yeah. Recently, I have been playing some Valorant. So if you want to play Valorant, let me know.
What is Valorant?
Are you familiar with Counter-Strike?
Yes. So it's
like Counter-Strike, but
Yeah.
Riot made their version.
Oh.
It's like tactical shooter. Mm-hmm. That you have to like try to like coordinate with people if you can about like going behind a corner and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whereas like Call of Duty, it's less like that. You probably could do that, but
Then you're a camper.
Yeah. Well, depends which version of Call of Duty too, I guess.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 2, there was just noob tubing. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
It was such a good game until people realized you can give yourself infinite grenade launchers. So for like 2 years, people played it, and then like it was cool.
Yeah.
And then there was a perk that you had that you could like change your class, but it restocked your ammo. So they would just recycle their ammo, and noob tubes were like an easy kill. It's like you just yeah. It was like he shoots a grenade and in a general area. And then you could do it like over objects and stuff. So like, yeah, it was terrible. So everyone was just doing it. It was impossible to play the game at one point. It was a very interesting social experiment, if anything.
Yeah.
Because people played this game for years, for like 2 years, and then something caught on, and then it changed everything.
All I remember is that there was a character named Griggs, was one of the sergeants, and me and my buddy would play it all the time. My buddy who I grew up with, Phil. And he would go, he would always go, Grigoosh, every time Griggs would be, he's just like, stay safe,
Yeah, that's a good accent, too. Grigoosh. Slavic as hell. I wasn't too into the campaigns. I think I maybe played through it once. I was really into the multiplayer.
Yeah, so did you play like Nuketown?
Yeah. I think, I don't remember which one that was. That might have been like Black Ops.
Yeah, there were like two versions of
I don't
Call
remember
of
if
Duty.
it was the same company even making
Two different companies,
right?
I think. Yeah, was they'd go back and forth.
Yeah. So they had it like every year there'd be a new one, but it was different. Yeah.
We were playing Overwatch for a while.
Nice. I remember that one. I used to play that one a little bit too. I would queue that up. So after graduating college, I was still trying to play video games, and Overwatch was one of those games. And I remember playing. I would like come home. I would go to work. I would go to breakdance practice. I would get home at like 10:30, 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I would just stay up for like 2 hours to play Overwatch. And I would solo rank with the Hanzo.
Oh,
and
nice.
I got to like diamond or platinum, one after gold or something like that.
Wow. Good
And
for
then
you.
I was like, hell yeah. I found out that I felt like there was a time that you had easier queues because maybe like more children were playing. I don't know, because it's rank based. But there was
Sure.
definitely easier games.
Yeah.
There was so many easier games than others.
You're like 7:30 p.m. They just finished their homework. Great. Time for me to
that's the time you don't want. Because those are the kids that are like, they're way too fast.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Call of Duty, there was always the day after Christmas or Christmas Day was like the time you would get on and you would just play
Destroy.
you just destroy all the kids that got the game for Christmas.
You're like, I love ruining Christmas.
Yeah, you got so much XP because you had the prestiges and stuff, right? So like you wanted a prestige, so it was like a really good experience boost. But that's what I felt like when I queued in Overwatch. I was like, there was definitely a special time where somehow, even though it was ranked, like I was getting easier games, and I was like, I used that, and then I stopped after I hit that rank. I just stopped playing because I was like, what am I doing? I'm staying up till 3. I gotta work. I gotta wake up at 7 or 8.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, this isn't.
You're like, what am I working towards?
This isn't sustainable.
I was always a console guy too, so I always am at a disadvantage whenever there's a game that has people who are on a keyboard playing because they're just so fast. They're so fast.
Yeah. Well, on console they have auto aim assist.
Oh,
It'll like that's kind of the things with Call of Duty with cross-platform. Like I don't know how they solved it, but yeah, with console, once your cursor gets to the person, it started like locks into them. It tracks them. It helps you track to them.
That's our training wheels.
Yeah.
As the console players,
because it can't be as precise as a keyboard. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do both keyboard and console, or
no? That's why I think Valorant's kind of hard for me because I'm not used to doing it on a keyboard.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is like, damn, sometimes I'll die and I'll be like, I'm just like, why? You know what I mean? I'll be like, I give him a haircut, shoot left, shoot right, shoot left. And I'm just like,
did it work?
and I'm just like standing there dead, like disappointed in myself.
Standing there dead.
I'm just like, damn, that happened. And it happens a lot. But it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. I wasn't expecting so many personal life questions, I will say.
A lot of these have been very formal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh, let's just talk normally, and then we'll infuse all the work stuff.
I was worried about it being too formal for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm sure you've talked about so much of it already that like, there's not much I could add in regards to that
No,
stuff,
you
right?
definitely can add. And I think even what you were saying about your whole career and like finding your niche as everyone says now, of like your niche is actually broad because you were a generalist. You could do all these different things.
Yes.
And that's super, super valuable.
Yeah.
And like finding that as you've gone through your career is kind of cool.
I do think I'm hitting that point though. I don't know what I'm gonna do next.
Yeah,
do you
that's
feel
interesting.
That way ever? Like,
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels like it's because also once you get to a place, you get to like, oh, that would be really cool to work at that place or work on this type of work. Then you get there and you're like, okay, now what do I do?
especially because everything's changing now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point in time, I've understood that it's probably good to wait for the dust to settle a little bit with that
Yes.
stuff. But yeah, I'm like, well, do I still want to even do that? You know,
Out of enjoyment or out of the fear of like the changing technology of like AI being able to like
Yeah.
do all of our jobs at some point.
I think out of enjoyment. Because
Yeah.
if I'm just doing a job for the sake of doing a job,
Right.
I could do anything. I could make a lot more money doing something else.
True.
So like,
That is true.
so why? You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking about it in that way too. I'm like, because if I'm becoming an AI monkey,
Yeah.
that's what I love that term. I feel like we coined that term. Do you remember in school? Like we would be like
A roto monkey?
a
Yes, I
Yumi
remember.
monkey.
That's
If I'm
yeah.
gonna become an AI monkey, why don't I just do like drop shipping or something?
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Yeah, like why don't I just do something else?
I think everybody's thinking that. I think that you're definitely not alone. I think everybody is kind of trying to figure out what the other thing is that they can do that they might be good at.
Yeah. Maybe I'll open up a gym.
You know what? That's something that has brought you. It's brought you a lot of things, probably, but it's brought you.
Health complication. Too much. No, I'm kidding. I don't do. I'm natural. If I wasn't natural and I look like this. Damn, I really wish I thought of the Sasquatch Yeti thing first. That was such a funny, good idea.
You're like, I could be doing that.
I will say, because I have a little bit of like insight into like how much money people make like on YouTube stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it is hard. It's not easy. But people make a lot of money. And so it's like,
yeah.
and if you have just like a good idea and like you know how to work it up, like
Yeah.
you can do that. So I've even thought of that. So I'm joking about the Yeti Sasquatch. But like actually, Sasquatch is hilarious, and people like it. It gets views.
Well.
Have you heard the AI podcasts?
Oh,
Two
geez.
AI robots talking to each other.
I have heard snippets of
Yeah.
this type of thing.
I'll see if I can find it. I used to get clips of them recommended to me.
But are they using like a celebrity as a model? Or are they using a person? Or it's just nope? It's just this blanket of thought that makes up this human that's one human and then another one that's a different one.
From my understanding on the video that I saw, it was two base models basically that were like given a prompt to talk about, and they're fed like kind of like with images. They're fed like something to train that model, and so those models are basically just talking to each other. I think on the one that I saw it was based on philosophy.
Oh,
It was like a
interesting.
philosophical question, and I'm remembering more about it now. It was given info of research and written papers by philosophers and all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it was like an AI that was trained on all that information, and then they had like a 10-minute little like podcast back and forth talking about like a question or something like that. It was it was very surreal.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I was like, huh. Even content creation can be fully automated, I'm sure, at this
Yeah, I
point.
know. And that's going to only get better as time goes on, where you're not going to be able to tell the difference. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, too, how learning will change in schools.
Ooh.
Like,
Yeah.
would you read about Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr having their debate, or would you listen to them actually doing it in an AI? You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I mean, you
I
can
think-
also listen to Hamilton, the musical
Yeah.
by Lin-Manuel Miranda, but
Yeah. That is interesting. I didn't think of that. I would say maybe once it gets better. Because there is, like, you ever ask ChatGPT a question about something you kind of know already, but you're just, like, trying to remember the details, and it tells you something that's, like, completely wrong.
No, I haven't
Yeah,
had that
it happens a
experience.
lot.
Oh, okay.
I always fact check it. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great tool for, like, maybe trying to brainstorm ideas or, like,
Right.
kind of get thought starters going. but I'll usually fact check it still because it's based on things that it's trained on. So if you
Yeah.
ask it like a question about like 3D, it's just gonna search the internet and give you like and try to summarize the first couple things it sees.
Yes.
Without maybe any expertise on the subject.
That's true. I have seen it now that you mention it on Google a lot of times. When
Yes.
you're searching, it'll
Yeah.
come up and it's
Just
not
not
right.
right,
It's
yeah.
like, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
That's not
And
what I'm
then
looking
it's
for.
because the models maybe aren't trained very well on that subject, and obviously like ChatGPT is supposed to be like the best one and far ahead of the others and all that. I think it needs to get a bit better before we can reliably use it. But I think it's
Sure.
great for like you ask a question to someone, hey, I wonder is that legal? This blah blah. You could ask ChatGPT that stuff. You know?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can be like, "Oh, yeah." I remember one time I gave it a question. I was like, give me 50 like female celebrities or like 10 or something like that, and it gave me like men. And I was like, that's not a female. And it was like, oh, you're right. Here's
Oops.
someone. I think one time it was just like, oh, yeah, you're right. But I will say it learns based on your conversations. Like the second time that happened, it automatically gave me a second list. So it is a very cool tool in those ways.
It is. It'll be interesting to see where the world is, you know, in just a few years, because
Yeah.
it's even just in it's been like a year of like AI being a thing. Every commercial on YouTube, everything is like, oh, this new AI learning, blah, 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 blah. And it's become such a buzzword.
But AI is actually a little bit, there's something to show for it. So that's true.
True.
It is different in this way.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think dust settling needs to happen, see like what comes of it.
that's true. It feels like it's in a okay place, but I feel like it's only going to get smarter and smarter
Yeah.
the more that gets fed into it.
Once people realize like really useful use cases for it, actually though, like instead of like creating art like professionally for some reason, like
Yeah.
I don't know, like traveling, like imagine I found that when I went to travel, I was like, damn, there could be an AI that'd be like, I probably could have just asked ChatGPT. I wasn't using ChatGPT yet that much. Be like, you know, what can you help me with my itinerary?
Yeah, it becomes a travel agent, basically,
yeah.
an AI travel
But
agent.
like that's cool. Like why not, right? Travel agencies aren't doing well anyway, like from my understanding. But then like that could help supplement potentially something in the future on that
Yeah.
side of things, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe businesses will get more traffic.
Or
It's-
some medical advances could maybe happen from
Yes,
it
exactly.
deciphering through a lot of research that has been done all over the world and then going, oh, the cure for this could be this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one big positive I hope comes out of it.
I can't wait. I can't wait for people to stop thinking about taking an artist's job with AI.
I know.
It's the catalyst, but there's cool ideas that could come from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, it doesn't do a good job at, like, technical things. So I think at the moment it's having a pretty severe impact, but I do think there might be, like, a rebalancing of it at some capacity eventually.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar, right? Like, the Photoshop thing.
When it came out.
Yeah, like the digital drawing
Yeah.
side of things was, like, that was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so-
Well, CG in general
Yes.
was a huge shift, you know, when Toy Story came out, it changed
Yeah.
everything for our industry.
Yeah.
You know. And when I say our industry, I mean filmmaking, video games, everything.
Yeah.
In entertainment, it changed everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that it's not really something that's talked about as much, but like nonlinear editing, all that stuff kind of all came from the developments that like, you know, Pixar and all these initial companies that were doing it, making it for entertainment. You know, it became like everybody's tool sets now
And people still love the 2D stuff. That
Yeah.
still exists.
and it should.
Yes.
And that's also the inspiration for
Yes.
all these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the moment it's hard to, to see what's going to happen. It might seem more doom and gloom than it is.
I hope so. I think so too.
Always say thank you to ChatGPT. Thank the bus driver, thank ChatGPT.
In case an army of robots and bus drivers come after you.
Who do you think's driving the bus?
The robots couldn't figure out that part. It could only do the roboting, not the bus driving.
Hey man, the robots, I mean, look at, anyway.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
coming over and hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's cool. Hopefully someone found something useful.
I think they will. I think they will.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Thank you.
Do you end it with like a handshake or something? Or like a hug?
Well, I'll say thank you, and then I'm gonna turn to them, and I'm gonna go thank you for watching this episode of Nick's Friends in Film. Please comment. Tell us if you could fight an ostrich or not, right?
Confidence.
Confidence, that's the key. And join us next week for our next friend. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Very good.
Very good.